Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. It's such a beautiful winter morning here. I hope it's the same for you there. Just getting started on the day, just getting started on the week. I missed you for cocktail night this week if you're looking for that episode. I'm sorry about that. You know, I've been sick with COVID, and although I feel better, it's been a really heavy pace. So it was nice to have that break from having to do that content. And I do have a nice show for you this morning because I spent yesterday tooling around a little bit, hitting some antique stores. I'm in Connecticut, as you probably know, but I was over in Massachusetts. And I got some beautiful shots of some rugs that I found. I didn't buy any of them, so I'll tell you where I found them. And if you're near there and you want something really special, I saw some super beauties this weekend. So I wanted to do a weekend catch up with you this morning and end in this. I just started looking at this book that Linda sent me, this wonderful dyeing book, because we are starting a big series of videos on dyeing. We've already done some, so you're going to be seeing those popping up in the near future. First, let me say good morning to everybody. Happy Monday, Robin. Great to see you. Doreen, great to see you. Sunny but cold. Oh man, I hear you. I think it's cold here too. It's just so sunny that it's uplifting, at least. Crystal, great to see you. Coffee cookies, you're ready. Woohoo! I hope everybody had a good weekend too. Happy weekend, everybody. Linda, I missed saying good morning in sunny New Jersey. Andrea, good evening. Snuggled up with tissues and pills, caught a cold, no sleep for 2 nights, in need of some cheery rugs to cheer you up. Oh, I'm so sorry. Isn't that such a bummer? Oh, tis the season for misery and colds, isn't it? Oh man, let's see if we can make it better. I bet we can. Oh, I hope you feel better too. Linda H. in Massachusetts, great to see you. Great to see you. Ryan, finish your first hooked piece. Can't wait to see it. I know you're used to doing your punching. I can't wait to see it. Hope you're going to send a picture of it for gallery night. And we have to put gallery night on the calendar as well. Oh, Lorraine, good morning. Good to see you. Carol, good morning. Unusually rainy southern Utah. Oh man, is it unusually rainy this week or this weekend? It's so funny how we get such a mixed bag, isn't it? I mean, we're also spread out, of course, but nonetheless, it's just been so unpredictable here. Can't wait to see it, Ryan. Me too, Crystal. I can't wait to see it. Ryan, tell us in the thread, how did it compare? How did hooking compare to punching for you? Because you are like a seasoned puncher, so I'm just wondering what you thought in terms of. I mean, it's apples and oranges, of course, but yeah, I'm wondering what you thought about all that. Just looking at my cues for myself, going, what is this for? But now I remember. I've got so many things to list. It really has thrown me off a little bit, being sick, and I wasn't even that sick, but it knocked the energy out of me, and I already had none, so that was pretty deadly. Good morning. So let's see, where should we start? I want to remind you that if you missed the Create Your Story Rug class, I put up another date for that later in January. So that is currently in our Facebook group posted. In the Facebook group is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, and it's also on the Ribbon Candy Hooking website. So that's there for you. If you missed the first class, like you, Robin, and you want to catch it next time, or if you took it and you want to take it again, if you missed it completely, it's there. So I added another date because it was such a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Courtney, great to see you. It's been a while. Oh, I feel like I need to send you a message. Good to see you. Joy, the sisters are side by side there. Good to see you in Port Charlotte. Joy, it's great to see you in Port Charlotte, Florida. Darlene, so glad to watch. So glad you're watching live in Tennessee. I'm so glad you're there. Good morning. It's so nice to be here in the morning. I miss it when we don't do this because this is my happy time. It really is. It's just an energy and time thing sometimes. So, Jane, good to see you, my love. So let's look at some of the stuff I found this weekend. It really was good. I took off yesterday. It's been kind of a race to the finish because I'm about to hit a skidding point in January where there are so many things in January, speaking dates and teaching dates that are it's going to be overwhelming soon. So I'm trying to pace myself before it gets like really scary and panicky. But this coming weekend, the one that's coming up next, I think it's got to be Saturday. I will be giving a presentation at the Guild in Rhode Island, which is not part of ATHA. It's the Little Rhodey Thrummers. And if you are anywhere near here, it is a great guild. It is a fun guild. and they meet, I think, in Middletown. You have to check, but I think I know where to drive to. I'm just forgetting which library it's at, but they've got a beautiful room that we use there, and I'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation on Alice Butler and Vic Hugo and that collection of rugs. So we've been working here while I've been like in and out and sick, and then I took yesterday off completely. Jacob's been here working on tons of Alice Butler designs on linen to bring to that date if people want to buy them there. So that will be a great talk, I hope. Um, I mean, I plan for it to be a great talk on Alice Butler and Vic Hugo, and then looking at some of the patterns in a slideshow on a screen that's like it's like a concert. It's a massive screen, so it should be fun. And a bunch of other dates coming up. I want to remind you that in April we're having the gallery show for storytelling rugs, your story rugs. Even if you're a beginner, yours will be great to have in the show. If you'd like to see your stuff at the gallery, the Charter Oak Center in Hartford, Connecticut, where I am. And also coming up on the 28th, which should be a Saturday of this month, is the Van Gogh exhibit. So I'm getting that ready too, and that talk on the history of rug making. Right in the middle there is another talk at the New Canaan, if you're local, New Canaan Historical Society, where I'll be doing a talk on the romance of hooked rugs, very history driven, and then followed by a class making a rug that's associated with the house called the flower vase. It's absolutely beautiful and a unique pattern. So those things are coming up, and quite a few others this month. So if you are local, I would love to see you. And if you are local and you have any inclination to come and hook at either the Hartford date on the 28th or the New Canaan Historical Society on the, let me see, on the 25th, those are close together. Let me know, because I could really use people, whether you're a beginner or not, I could use people to be demonstrating, just working on your project while the talks are happening so other people can look and see. Both places have requested that people come and demonstrate during the talk. So it'd be great to know that some people are coming in. If you feel like you can, just touch base with me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com or send me a message on Facebook. And that would be great. That would be a big relief. Ryan says, hooking was a learning curve. The monk's cloth I used was too tight. Should have used burlap. I still prefer punching, but I liked learning, hooking on the fly. That's the way to do it, right? You just dive right in, hope for the best. And I'm sure it was absolutely the best. Darlene says, oh, thank you so much. I've got one of my stupid shirts on today. I'm going to show you. I don't think it's backwards. I love this possum. Live ugly, fake your death, eat trash. I mean, it's just like it's the shirt I wear when I'm like not feeling 100%. Live ugly. I love the message, right? Thank you so much. I love pink. Jane, so I so wish. Oh, I so wish you did too, Jane. I so wish you did. It'd be great to get some help at those dates if you're around. If I know we're all spread out, but just in case. I also have a date coming up teaching in person the braided rug, the elusive multi-strand braided rug, coming up that first weekend in February in Madison, Connecticut, and lots of the same class over Zoom if you're interested in learning about that braided in rug that does not require butting and lacing, right? It's a much easier form, I think. More strands, easier and faster. So, and also I'm going to be posting today a video that I recorded last week, but I'm trying to figure out how to edit the video because I need to speed up the center. And I need my daughter to do that. And she's been running around with like all kinds of sleepover dates and stuff like that. I haven't been able to catch her long enough to show me how to use the program. So that's coming up. I did a video at the end of last week taking a piece of burlap from Joanne Fabric, right, from the craft store, and drawing on with just a ruler and a Sharpie, a grid, making a stencil, placing it for a hit or miss kind of checkerboard pattern, and just showing you how to, from scratch, with nothing but a piece of burlap, right, and cut up whatever, how to start making a rug. So it's a real old-time 19th century approach, just like we were talking about last week in that 1951 booklet from Cornell. That kind of thing. I demonstrated exactly what she was saying to show you how simple the materials are that you need to get going. So as soon as I figure out how to edit that video, which I hope is today, I hope as soon as she gets out of school, she has the time to help me. Isn't it funny needing help from my 9-year-old? It's just crazy. It's such a testament to what a ding-dong I am with technology. Crystal says, oh, Dave, great to see you. Happy Monday. And Crystal says, hooking with monk's cloth isn't easy, I know, but if your wrists ever tire when punching, flipping it over to hook is an easy way to vary muscle movements. That's great. That's right. That's really great. It is. It's a tight backing, right? It's much tighter than burlap or linen. So it can get to, depending on how wide your strips are, your yarn is, it can get to you, right? All of us. It's not like you're doing something wrong. It's just that repeat motion is a lot on your wrist or your arm or the sometimes this part of my hand. Everybody's different, I guess. Jane says, what is the picture over my shoulder? What is the picture over my shoulder? Well, I've got this mask that Teddy made here. This is a beautiful picture. I'm so in love with this one. I found this at an antique store for like nothing. I just love it. It reminds me of the dyeing we're about to do in this as well. Nice winter scene here. And this is an antique toy that does this kind of thing. It's like a seesaw. Bunch of things over there. New vignette. Is it? Yeah, it is too. Here, let me show you. It's so pretty. It's an old toy. I'm going to hold it because what it does is they come down. You see what I mean? As they rock, they come down this sort of corrugated kind of cardboard looking piece of metal. Isn't it funny when I think about the kinds of toys that children had, right, at this period, late 19th, early 20th century, and then you would flip this over and they would come seesawing down again. But when I think about something like this being interesting, and indeed, yesterday when I was out antiquing, I found something I really wanted. I could not have many things. It was this big display of beautiful hand painted, hand carved, quite early, like 18th, 19th, early 20th century apples. And most of them were boxes and super antique folky art. A couple of them were tape measures. One of them was like a nesting thing with like many apples in it. But it was a giant display on this beautiful old folk shelf. This one person's lifetime collection of these hand painted apples. I wish I took a picture of it. I didn't take a picture of that. It was a bunch of, I mean, it was so luscious and overwhelming looking at these beautiful apples that were all kind of standard red yellow color, so folky, different sizes, different ages, different wear. The whole collection was something like $5,800 with the shelf. So I didn't just purchase that, and nor would my credit card allow me to, I'm sure. I would not have been able to walk out with that under any circumstances, but it was beautiful to see. And it said on the tag, try to imagine a day when children would be playing with these apple boxes and be satisfied with that. Like just a little box that opens up to put some rocks or whatever in. And that would be a toy. Like this is a toy. And it's not like a comparison, right? Because time marches on, and I love that my kids are so good at computers, and I love that they're passionate about video games. I love that they love virtual reality. It's not interesting to me, but I love that they're passionate about it. I was playing Atari and Dungeons and Dragons, so who's to judge? I'm not pointing the finger at anything, but it is funny and curious to think about the way that kids used to play. I don't think it's better or worse. I just think it's very different, isn't it? It's whimsical and charming and just a different life back then. Oh, Pierre, great to see you. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to April. It's coming together. I'm already getting lots of correspondence and I'm super excited, looking forward. Oh, me too. Me too. I can't wait to see you again as well. Pierre, it's Pierre's show, right? I'm just helping gather the story rugs for it in April, and at that beautiful place where I last documented Pierre's show with Linda Martin, the quilts, remember? So pretty. It's going to be a great event. I cannot wait. All right, let me see. Am I caught up here? So let me show you what I found, because I found some great stuff yesterday. And again, I was in the Berkshires. So I came through Connecticut up on Route 7. If you're familiar with this area, there is like a rash, in a good way, of antique stores. And this is a very densely rug hooking area, right? This is a big hobby in this part of Massachusetts and always has been. So I found a lot of rugs. Let me show you some of the ones I got. And I didn't buy any of them, so they are there. If you love them, they are there. Now, these are not braided rugs, but I thought this was interesting, and I thought this is something we should talk about. And I'm going to record a video on this either this week or next week. These are what this person is calling pot holder rugs. And what these are, right, because we talked about this a little bit on the Facebook group, these are not hooked rugs. These are loomed rugs with a loom that you would make with like little nails and a piece of wood to whatever size specs you're thinking. but it's basically a potholder rug, like vintage style. Remember those little square things that you would stretch potholders across and weave them, right? That craft has been around since the mid-century. This is the exact same thing, but this person has made a larger loom and is, oh, Lori, good to see you. And she is cutting up t-shirts and looming them the exact same way. So she's calling these potholder rugs. And I had to take some pictures. I was flipping through them here. So you can see there's one on top that's like red, grays, real 1980s Duran Duran type colors. And then the next one is like really different colors, sort of like terracotta and like southwestern colors, a few brights in there. But I was so sort of blown away by the variety of color and how pretty they look when they're finished, right? Super rag rug style. And you see that little bit of gold there too, like something had a little bit of gold enough to make one little join. So I see that in there too. It's super sparkly. Some of them have a slight print to them, like the t-shirt was printed, a little bit of tie-dye stuff happening on some. It's just very cool, something very cool to think about. And when we were talking on the thread and people going, oh, I've seen stuff like that, my buddy Linda Ann posted this picture on the thread and she said, oh, I make these kinds of rugs like all the time on her loom. So she's already doing this. She's up in Canada. She's already doing this, and this is one of Linda Ann's rugs, and I loved this too. So I just thought, really cool. And Judy says, oh, interesting. I thought that kind of frame rug was generally twined. I think it can be. I don't, we've talked about twining so little, and I have not. So it's not one of the forms that I've used so far, and it's not one that I used for that book. 16, but that's not one of them. Maybe I should have used that. So I don't know if Linda Ann was on it. I don't see her, but I think, or if anybody else has done this kind of potholder rug and twined, what is the difference between the two? Because I would like to know too. It's something that could be researched easily, but I didn't even think of that, and I completely forgot about the word twined. So I'll be really curious to see if anybody answers that also. Because this is interesting to me. I'd love to make a potholder rug this size. No, Carol, I don't, because this was like an antique store. Oh, Linda Ann, we could ask Linda Ann. I think I'll do that. I think I'll do that. And I am going to figure this out and do a video as well, because I have nothing but t-shirts around here. This place is rotten with t-shirts in a good way. But yeah, I'll ask her for a photo because I'm in touch with her constantly. This was in the same store. So this is like, to me, this isn't the most interesting kind of a rug, but it is lovely. This is a commercial pattern for sure. It's probably like a late 19th, early 20th century pattern. I would think this was done in the 40s, 50s. It was in good shape. It had certainly been on the floor. You see there's some damage around the edges, still quite pretty, fairly plain. I mean, I don't want to say anything disparaging about any rug because this is the style of the time. The colors are very pretty. I like the lilacs with the deeper blues, the more turquoise. I like that in contrast to the very neutral background, to the very neutral sort of oatmeal browns. I love the central motif. We usually don't go with an even number of anything as a central motif, so that makes this a little bit unusual. Odd numbers are considered more interesting, but this looks great. This worked great. I like the way that the two pink flowers are reversed in color. I think that's really smart. I wonder if they only had X amount of just like one sleeve or a small amount of each color and solved the problem by reversing like this. So you only needed a little bit of each one rather than doing matchy match. It's a cute piece. I forget how much it was. I wasn't sincerely interested in it, and I was kind of on the hunt. This was in the same stall. This was more interesting to me, but I have such an aversion to oval rugs for some reason. I just feel like they have to be on the floor because they're just for me too hard to display on the wall. I get very OCD about shapes aligning, you know. So while this is the more interesting rug, I still didn't take it, and it is a quite interesting rug. And I thought this one has a lot of potential to have been a non-commercial pattern and original. It's a very odd pattern with the one flower, the frame of four buds, and this kind of spray of this blue design going through, right? Very unusual. Most unusual thing I think about this rug is the background because it is a classic and fantastic marble cake kind of a background with a mixture of colors. They're using all dulls, drabs, the khaki type family crossing into the yellows, right, which is still within the khaki family. Really unusual background, very tumultuous, right? It's very stormy to me, despite having a lot of warm colors to it. I love this background. I love the really organic fern type plant around the border. Really interesting. What I don't love about this, and this is just a personal thing for me, I see so many rugs with brown borders, and I was having a conversation. It's going to come up later in this slideshow. Nothing wrong with a brown border. It's just for me, brown isn't as much of a neutral as black is, or gray, or a lot of other colors. And I have a personal aversion to brown, and I don't know why. It's just we see it so much, and that is because people are cutting up their clothes, and it's such a common color for clothing. It makes a lot of sense to use it as a neutral in a border. It's just we see it a lot. And this is something to think about if you're a collector, if you're going to start collecting. It's very, in terms of rarity, it's very hard to find stuff with black. It's very easy to find stuff with brown. So the more you look, the more you find, the more you collect, you'll notice this more and more. And very old rugs, right, still have the brown in them and have the brown borders. Early 20th century, it's very common to see the brown border. But when you see a black background or a black border, it just know that it is much rarer, because you might say, oh, black, it's neutral. It is neutral, but it's very hard to find black compared to brown. So for me, this was an interesting rug in a lot of ways. It's a real pretty rug. The deal breaker for me was as much the oval shape as it was the border. But someone else could say, listen, I have a lot of brown. My sofa is brown. This would be the absolute ideal rug for me. That's the way the world works, isn't it? That's what makes life beautiful, is that we all feel differently and see differently. This is a gorgeous rug. But again, I left all of these there along Route 7 in Great Barrington at a series of shops. Now, okay, hang on. I got to come here. Beverly, I forgot that you were on. This is like your subject. Absolutely. Any kind of rug is, I'm gonna defer to Beverly. My twined loom has metal rods that are on the outside, the process, so all the way squared like a pot holder rug, I'm guessing. Um, the process is like braiding. Yep, it is like braiding. It is also called German braiding. Great. Candace, great to see you. I just sent you a message about that turquoise color. Okay, I can picture that because it's still in my mind looking like the pot holder rug. And then that furthers the question for a twining frame, is it the same as making a pot holder? Is it the same? Are you just weaving over and under? Just as simple as that, like making pot holders? This is interesting. This is interesting. Um, I was entering another store right after I left that one. There was one across the street, and I went in and I was scooting around, and I was standing at that display of apples, reading that beautiful little bit about the children's toys and all that. And a guy came in with this hooked rug under his arm, and I saw it because I could tell that there was a Dalmatian there. And I mean, he was talking to the guy who was working there. He was one of the dealers, and he's got this big hooked rug, and I'm thinking, that's a hearth rug because of the size of it, right? It wasn't like a welcome mat size. It was much bigger, rolled up. And I thought, unless it's two, but I saw the Dalmatian, and I thought, oh my God, that's an Edward Sands Frost rug that he's holding. And then I thought, I wonder if he knows, because I thought, oh God, if I can get it for like $100 or something, that would be crazy. Silly. That was a silly thought. So I approached immediately. I couldn't control myself at all. So I approached and I said, I think you're holding an Edward Sands Frost rug. And he goes, oh my God, you know about rugs. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm kind of dying to see that one. So he took it over to his stall, which was formidable. I mean, it was proper folk art, very high end, really lovely. And he unrolled it and he let me take these pictures of it. And it is an Edward Sands Frost. It is much wider than this picture looks. So it is a hearthrug size. It is very, very wide, very, very long, right, horizontally, meant for a hearthrug. It is in remarkably good condition. It is a nice 19th century, absolutely Edward Sands Frost pattern. The color on the Dalmatian is a very rare frost pattern. And, compared to like the eagle and the lion, we see those a lot. The dog, other dogs, right? The other seated dog, more like the hound, but the Dalmatian is very rare. And for that reason, this one is more expensive. So let me first show you bits and pieces of this because it is, Kirsten, amazing. The color wise, it would be very hard to beat this rug. So let me bring you around the corners of it. This is such a thrifty rug. Pay attention to the black because, as I just said, finding a black background is rare. So even on a frost rug, finding a black background is a good thing and it is going to elevate the value of this rug. So yeah, there's a lot of graying out in the background because of the fades of the different blacks that had to be used. There's no fading on his body, right? Those spots are very stable. And all of the colors around the dog are just remarkable, just remarkable. Um, I just thought this was an incredible find. So he's got this listed on, and this is the back. It has a series of patches, but they're old patches. It is very stable. He said, you know, this is a rug you could use for the floor, and I immediately got a stomach cramp because I'm thinking, oh God, please don't say that too many times, just because people will. And I mean, for someone who loves Dalmatians and can afford this, great. You want it as a rug. I guess it's not fair to say anything about that, but at the same time, this is a part of rug hooking history, and it's super, super rare, and it's in remarkable condition. And I would just hate to see it suffer further um, abuse and holes, get holes and evolve different problems that aren't there right now. So, you know, it is what it is. So, hold on one second. Let me see. So, the thing is, let me bring you back here. With this rug, he's got this listed on First Dibs, I think for, sorry, wait a minute. I'm trying to get you the better picture back. There we go. He's got this listed on First Dibs, Edward Sands Frost Dalmatian rug for, I think, I want to say 4,500. And that is the right price, right? That's not a bargain, but that is the right price. That's not an inflated price. For this rug, with these colors, with the black, in this condition, and a known frost pattern, it's absolutely the right price. And if it was 10 years ago, you could add 10,000 to that easily. So for a collector, this is a big deal. And he said to me, and I do have his information, if you're interested in this rug as a collector, this is a great, I mean, this is like a museum quality rug, right? This isn't a him and Egger kind of a rug. This is not a rug for me. Even though I love rugs, I don't have this kind of spending power. But he said if it was bought off a site that he had to pay like huge fees to, he would do 1,000 less. So if you want his information, I can definitely pass that on to you because we exchanged phone numbers and now we've been texting each other. So this was a remarkable rug to find. And I just want to point out, for the sake of funsies, that there are a few other Dalmatians online. This one is on Laura Fisher Quilts, right? So she has quite a lot of quilts and rugs that are really important. This is on Laura Fisher's site, and this is the Dalmatian, very different. Here's the brown. This is a much newer version of it, and this one is 3,800. So this one's a bit more, much later, right? I would not make this a 19th century rug in my mind at all. I'm looking at the kind of shading, and you know, I think it's obviously an older pattern, but that has been done much more recently, and it's hard to say how recently with just this photo. There's another one on First Dibs, and this one really is a bargain. This is the Dalmatian rug again in brown, but the black Dalmatian spots really striking. The flowers very different and striking. This one is 1,585, also on First Dibs. So there are currently 2 Dalmatian rugs on First Dibs, the one that I found in person this weekend and this one. This one really is really a bargain, but this is a newer rug too, in my opinion. So this also, just from the photo, and I don't know, but this does not look to me like a 19th century rug like the first one. So interesting to keep finding the pattern, right? Because you can. I don't know, and help me out here, who has the Edward Sands frost patterns right now, because I know that the Ford Museum has the physical stencils, and I have lost track with who actually owns them and who is allowed to reproduce them. Because in my mind, this could be a very new one. I might be wrong, and the one before it, the Laura Fisher. I would put both of these like post 1980 in my mind, but I'm not sure. It's very hard to tell from photos, and there isn't a lot of information online. There's this only other image I could find of that Dalmatian rug is on Janet Connor, and I really love and respect Janet Connor. Her rug hooking website, Janet Connor, Conner. This is as big as I could get it quality wise because it was a tiny photo file. But this is on her website. This is that Dalmatian again. Very, very different color handling. Um, the shape has been softened a little bit too because it had like pulled points, right? It was like an oval with pulled points. This is a little bit different, very bright. This looks like an older rug to me too, color wise, but interesting. I want to catch up with the thread there. Okay, let's hold on that. Well, let me open that and let me catch up with the thread here. So let's see. Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting too far. I'm going to scroll up. I want to see what y'all are saying. Beverly says the twining you work from top to middle, then flip it up and work from the bottom to the middle. Okay. Top to middle and then flip it up and bottom to middle. And Judy says, I've been wanting to make myself a loom for twining, but so many projects, so little time. I know, exactly, right? That could be a really fun project, though. And Judy says, so amazing. You got to see it. And I know it was amazing. And, you know, and he's like, oh, I would do a special deal for you because he knew it was a big deal for me. But I have to say, for me, right, running a rug hooking business, I'm not in the game with people who have like thousands to spend on rugs. I'm just not in the game. I put my money into the business and try to grow the business. And while I love finding pieces like that, I'm not really a collector. I like to find bargains. Once in a while, I find a 19th century rug that completely bamboozles and excites me, and I will try to get that, but I never go to that kind of number for money. But it is worth that. It's absolutely worth that. Um, you know, if I had money, I think I would buy both the one that I saw in the store and the other one on First Dibs, just to have like two examples if I had unlimited funds, right? It's fun to dream. Talk about lottery and stuff like that, right? Fun to dream. But it was a great find, and it was a real privilege to be able to look at it and touch it, right? I wasn't like licking it, you know, I was just like carefully touching it, and I wanted to see what the damage looked like. It was extraordinary. I mean, it was such a moment, as you can imagine. I got really excited. It was really fun. And Judy says, so, yep. And Lynn says, I've made about 10 rugs with twining. I know, Lynn, you do this stuff all the time too. This is like absolutely your wheelhouse. This branch of rag rugs for me is not one of my go-to areas thus far. So I love learning about it because I really want to try doing some other forms. Linda says, Beverly, two weft strips handled at the same time, alternating one weft strip twined or wrapped around the stationary warp strip, going back and forth, including the metal sidebars. That just completely went above my head, but I know that that was real specific and helpful, Linda. Thank you. I gotta get up to date with this stuff. Linda says sheets and are often recycled for twined rugs and mats. Linda, when you look for sheets, are you good with cotton sheets or are you looking for like jersey, like stretchy sheets? I'm just wondering. And Lynn says, I use donated t-shirts for my twining of rugs. And Beverly says, when you twine, you go right to left and then you then back left to right, including the rod of the warp that runs up and down. Okay, so you all are this is like you're all speaking the same language and you're understanding it. So I hope I can come back to this thread at some point. I might have to take a photo of it, or maybe somebody screenshot it so I can come back to it at some point and really figure out visually what you mean. I'm totally visual. Um, that's very good. I was just going to say something. Twining rugs. What was it? Dang. And Rita says, Lizanne Miller at Cushing she has the Edward Sands Frost patterns. Rita, thank you. I should have guessed that, right? That should have been my first thought. I got to see the rugs at Henry Ford, special class for some of us locals. Oh, that must have been the same kind of feeling. Absolutely, even more exciting, right? Such a privilege. Linda says, cotton is my favorite material for twining, definitely not microfiber. Okay, that answers that. Thank you so much. God, I was just going to say something. I thought it was a great thought. Dang it. That always happens to me. We were talking about the loom. We were talking about the frost. Um, hmm. Either it was a lie, as my grandmother would say, or it'll pop back into my head. So let's see what happens. Same stall. It is driving me crazy. Same stall as the Sans Frost rug. And here's a Waldoboro rug, and this one was actually to me more interesting because I just love Waldoboro. I think this is a Garrett Bluenose pattern. I feel I know I've seen it recently, and I just got that Garrett Bluenose book printed. I just like bought that as in the hard copy form. Um, I love this motif. It's really odd to me. It seems like a variation on a maple kind of thing. It's got a lot going on. It's a very irregular pattern, and the leaf is so low in the composition. It's always odd for me to see this, but I have seen this before, so I know that it's a commercial pattern, and I think that it's a blue nose. The scrolls in this I absolutely love because there's a lot of shading happening here in the scrolls. The only part that is Waldoboro, well, I'll show you, are the like fluffy floral centers. So maybe you can see here, the scrolls are not flat, the leaf is not flat. The purple flowers, the middle flower, and the two sort of padula ringed flowers are Waldoboro, and they have been trodden down quite a bit over the years, right? Because this rug was certainly on the floor. It has quite a bit of damage. You know, I'm super remiss in that I have not, oh my gosh, I'm missing all of this good twining talk. I just thought of what I wanted to say too. I'm going to come back there. This has been trodden down quite a bit. I was remiss in forgetting to ask him how much this rug was. He was a very high end dealer, so I'm thinking this was also one that I would not have picked up. But again, it was a pleasure and a privilege to be able to see this Waldoboro rug. And I was stupid and arrogant enough to say to him, "Do you know?" Because he thought that the Waldoboro referred to the kind of loop, and I said, "No, no, no. It's like it's the parts where it's raised makes it Waldoboro, and it's from the Waldoboro, Maine." And I started telling him the story about the caskets in winter and not being able to put flowers on the caskets, and women making rugs with raised flowers as a placeholder for fresh flowers. And he knew because he said, I know that story because I have a house in Waldoboro. And I thought, oh, it's just getting you and all your amazing stuff plus your house in Waldoboro killing me and the Berkshire. I mean, just love this guy. He was so much fun. He was so much fun. What a nice guy. But he knew all about the Waldoboro rugs. He just didn't know the actual definition of Waldoboro, like how it's done. So I felt very proud to be able to show him what part of the rug was Waldoboro. And it was exciting. And you can see it is like, it has it's been defloofed quite a bit. It's been trotted on quite a bit. I always wonder with these Waldoboro rugs, did people not have horrible accidents tripping on them? I mean, I know what I'm like if there is even like a pen cap on the ground. I have a colossal, collision with like the dining room table and my teeth. But it just amazes me because these must have been quite high relief at one point, sitting there on the floor like a big Jack Tripper waiting for you to stumble across it. Interesting. I don't know the answer to how many accidents were caused by Waldoboro rugs, but they are absolutely beautiful. Let me take a minute before I move to that rug to. I don't think we're going to get to our dying segment today, and I shouldn't have known that was going to happen. I just wanted to be sure I had plenty of content. So let me catch up with this conversation. So Linda had said that you like to use the sheets. Lynn, you said you used donated T-shirts. Now that's what made me think this. So I know we're all in different parts of the country, but when I was in Massachusetts yesterday, I went to two Goodwill stores. And unlike the Connecticut Goodwill stores, they had pre made bags of cut up t shirts. And they were called rag bags, like dusting rag bags or cleaning rag bags. And they were meant to be recycled and green. And if you got the smaller bag, it went something like it was just like a dollar, I want to say 50 or 60 per pound, which is very low. And if you got the larger bag, it was even less, like 120 per pound. I probably should have gotten one because they were super cheap. They were like $5, $6, $8, different size bags. But obviously, the larger the bag, the better price you got on the t-shirts inside, but you could not see what the t-shirts inside looked like. So this was interesting for me, and it was worth remembering so that I could relay it, because it might be that at your Goodwill, they do this program with the pre-cut t-shirts to make the rags. I should have bought one, like I said, just to experiment. I will next time, because they do not have them, as far as I've seen, at the Connecticut Goodwills. And when I compare them to the Connecticut, here in Connecticut, we have a Goodwill outlet, which is, it goes by weight. So for example, I bought, well, it's like $1.60 per pound, right? And about four t-shirts, I think, make a pound in general. So That's the price at the outlet, and there are not many outlets around, right? So not many people have that possibility of getting them there. But this was a very good price inside these pre-made bags. I just don't know how cut up they are. And if you're doing something like twining, looming, crocheting, anything but hooking, where you could just do a few loops and then grab another piece and do a few more loops. If you need anything with kind of consistent length, right, to get some momentum going, they might not be the right product. But just wanted to mention it because I thought it was interesting and I had not seen them before. That was the first sighting of that new product in the store. Let me just scroll down and I'm just catching up on the twining cotton. And Lynn says, I've used cotton leftover fabric and sheets when I've made a twine rug, but I prefer the t-shirts. Makes for a thicker rug. Okay, that's great info. It also seems to handle better since my dogs are usually on them. That's great information. And Linda says, I'm a visual learner too. Google a demo of twining. Yeah, I definitely will. I bet that'll be like instant sort of cognition once I see somebody's hands touching it. And Lynn says, very good tutorials out there for twining and even making the frames. Okay, great. The key is the two metal dowels down the sides. That's what keeps your rug straight. Okay, see, that is interesting too, because when I looked at the potholder rugs, they were quite straight. And I'm picturing the potholders I made in the 70s when I was little, and they were okay, but they were never really straight. These rugs were really straight. So that's interesting. And Jay says, screenshotted twining shot. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to want to follow this later when I have more information and a better visual in my head. That's really good sharing talk. I absolutely love that kind of talk. This is in the same store, a few booths up from the guy with the Edward Sands Frost and the Walsboro rug. Um, this was actually my favorite rug in there, and it was still expensive. Jay, I don't know if you remember how much this one was. I feel like it was more than 500. It's a beautiful rug. It's a postage stamp rug with some patterned wools, some solids, 1937, good runner size. Could be good for a narrow hall in an old house. I definitely prefer it on a table like this. Super, super, super colorful and a beautiful rug. I was hoping for a smaller price tag because I thought this is a rug that I could easily do. What I love about this rug are the postage stamps, the variety of colors, the fact that it's dated, but also the black border. Because I would have expected, if somebody said to me, postage stamp rug in the next stall, what color's the border? I'd say brown, and it's black. So I thought that was kind of exciting. There's not a lot of black in the rug, so at least there was one, or had to be more with this border because it is long garments that could keep that black color going. But it is a beautiful rug with a great mix of warm and cool colors. It's just an unusual palette with not a lot of fade. I was really excited when I saw this one too. Just beautiful, isn't it? And what else did we find? So this was in the same store right around the corner, still in Great Barrington on Route 7. The Antique Center right there. There's two right there. They both have quite a few rugs. I've seen this pattern before, but I couldn't place it in a hurry. This is not a hearth rug style. I thought when I first saw it, this could be another Sans Frost, but it's not. I don't think that it is anyway. It is an older commercial pattern. I know I've seen it. Can't place the company, but it is charming. I do like the kind of breakfast at Tiffany's feel of the colors here. The cat kind of up on a boudoir type table, pink, black piping, white. Really a lovely rug. It is more of a welcome mat size, and it does have a color problem in the middle. I forget how much this one was. I feel like it was more like 400, maybe 380 something. But you can see there was some kind of problem in the middle, whether it was water or, barf or whatever. My dog has been having some incredible body stuff lately. He got a hold of something that he ate that was not good. Everything's getting damaged, so I'm pulling rugs up quicker than he can puke and poop on them. But who knows what these problems are. It is still a lovely rug. It's very subtle, all in. It's very subtle. And with this rug, there are a lot of very subtle patterned whites in the background. So look in that background, you can see some black print on whites. That's probably cotton, not wool. Who cares? People used whatever they could, right? You weren't really expecting to find an all wool rug from the 19th, early 20th century, and I don't think this is one at all. It didn't look like wool, most of it, but it is cool how some of it is patterned very subtly, right? It's very subtle. It had a bit of a heathery, tweedy feel to it. This is a better close-up, I think, of some of the materials in it. Just really, Really pretty. Really pretty. Linda says the postage stamp rug was a great way to use up your odds and ends. Absolutely. Absolutely. It made me want to get going on a postage stamp rug. It's just like, when, right? The eternal question, when? When? So this was in a different shop. Also, I think Great Barrington. This one I feel like was the price tag is there. I feel like it was maybe 195, something like that. So this is obviously a newer pattern. Couldn't place it. I immediately thought Rittermere, but then I thought, I don't know. It has that sort of tribally a pattern on the vase, which is very pretty. For me, this wasn't super tempting. What I like about it is a breakdown of the colors, the flower colors, and I do like the vase. You know, it's a very modern piece. It had a pretty good price tag on it, and of course, it's worth it. We know that it's worth it, material wise, hour wise. This looked like a number four cut to me, and it was pretty. It was new, and I'm always looking for the odd man out, not so much the new commercial patterns that I know are commercial patterns, but it could be a Pearl McGowan, it could be a Jane McGowan. Really, really lovely. So I'm just showing you some close-ups here. I thought it was a little bigger than a three. I thought it was a four, possibly a five cut. All of it, right? It was all cut the same width. So newer rug, little bits of shading here and there. I love the coloration on the branches. It's super cute. I love the runner too, Darlene. Love the runner. And this was pretty too as a framed piece. You know, if this was less, I would have bought it just to have it up on the wall because the colors really are lovely and it is so well done. And even the background, which looks at first glance to be all white, is a real mashup of colors, isn't it? There's crazy swirling, lightest bluish white, and then kind of more of that vanilla or milky white. So there's at least two whites in the background and some exquisite and painstaking patterning happening. The cat was 7.95, so that was a lot more than I thought. That's a lot. But I mean, it's a beautiful cat. I don't know that it's worth that, but it is beautiful. This wasn't yet another store. There's lots of shops there. Another commercial pattern, early 20th century pattern, very deco colors, very deco design. Great sort of architectural frame of a border, very simple flowers in the corner. What I really love about this piece are the big fat flowers and the way that they're done. This is not a shaded piece. There is just, somebody was like, I've got yellow. I'm going to do a cutout of each of the flowers and do this kind of weird insert of this yellow oval. And that is going to be the sameness that holds the piece together. All the flowers are going to have that element, that yellow element to them, and probably had to do with lack of other colors. But so beautiful. I love the placement of colors on this. If you look at the bottom, there's some grays. I kind of wish I got this now. There's some grays at the bottom, you know, and that careful use of the blue, right? There wasn't maybe a lot of blue, so one blue diagonally apart. Good thinking. It's just good thinking. I don't see this as being a taut piece, right? I see it as being a little bit older than that, but I see this as somebody sitting down that had a natural, intrinsic color sense and sense of balance and composition to say, well, I think I'm going to run out of this, and this, so I'm going to put in the little corners one little flower, outline them in white, got plenty of white. I'm going to do this with the flowers. I'm going to see how far I can get with this. I'm going to keep my bold colors, the poison, the blue in this case, at diagonals. This is just natural talent. Because you're not seeing shading and you're not seeing the florals really evolving in the way that people were taught to hook florals. This is done completely like Maverick style. I'm going graphic, very deco, very pretty, very unusual rug. Oh, Linda, I love sharing my adventures. I couldn't believe that there were so many rugs out yesterday because I really wasn't expecting to find many, and there were many. There were even a few others that I should have photographed. I'm so stupid and lazy. I get so distracted so easily when I'm in these situations. This was in a much more high-end antique store. I forget the name of it, but it was right making on Route 7 right before you got to the Red Lion Inn and that turn in Stockbridge. If you're local, you're going to know what I mean. It's a two-story barn on the right-hand side heading towards Stockbridge, still on Route 7. Really pretty rug. I think this was 195. It is a hearth rug dimension. It's wide. It had obviously been on the floor quite a bit. Someone's house, right? Someone's specific house. So I like that part of it. Um, no provenance. There was nothing written on it, under it. It's just very well done. I like the white trim on the house. I like the way it comes together. I like the placement of the trees. I'm guessing this is just what this house looked like. And I thought it was an extraordinary looking rug. I couldn't justify it for myself. It's not my house. I don't know where the house is. It didn't punch me in the heart like a lot of rugs do, but I could see that it was very well done, very pretty. Really needs to come up off the floor, but it wasn't my shop, and it is what it is. But it was a very, very pretty rug and a very nice find. And I just wanted to give you a sense of it was just a nice day. I was out with Jay. We were doing some antiquing. He has an antique business, so we were looking at antiques as well. And this area that I'm talking about, this part of Massachusetts, the Berkshires, is so beautiful. I hope that you've been there. I hope that you're going to put it on your bucket list. Let's not say bucket list. We hope we do everything 100 more times in this life, right? Life is so good. But it's a beautiful part of the country, and it's a real four-season place. And right now, people are getting into they're not huge mountains, but there's a lot of skiing and stuff and ski jumping. And it's just a beautiful place. And in Stockbridge, that is the town, one of the towns where Norman Rockwell lived. So that's where he lived to the end of his life, and that's where the Norman Rockwell Museum is, with so many of his original paint, so many, and all of the original post covers in the basement with the movie, just extraordinary place. And the main street in Stockbridge is the street that he painted, that long, skinny painting of Christmas time with all of the cars from that era. I know you know what I mean. It's so beautiful in Stockbridge. So once all the stores closed, we went to the Red Lion Inn, which is like an 18th century inn right on the main street. Big, huge presence in the town, right? It's also the town of Alice's Restaurant. Remember that song? That's around the corner from the Red Lion Inn. But the Red Lion Inn has beautiful dining room upstairs, places that you can sleep, beautiful public places where you can just wander in and sit and read. They'll never bother you doing that, right? They don't know if you're a guest or not. There's a tavern upstairs as well, but we like to go to the tavern downstairs. It's called the Lion's Den, and it is so charming. It's like a British type pub with a carpeted floor, tin ceiling with the shaped tin, and even the wallpapers like that gesso, almost like trapunto looking raised wallpaper, all painted glossy and beautiful. Little booths, little velvet booths, and chairs and tables, and a jazz band playing from 5:30 to 8:30. So we stayed for that whole thing. It was so good, improvisational jazz. My favorite song that came up, what was it? There'll Never Be Another You. What a beautiful song that is. It was such a good time. I wanted to show you the final picture from that trip yesterday, because this is how it ended last night. I was afraid I had missed all of the Christmas stuff at the Red Lion, but these are the big steps heading up to the Red Lion, and they still had their lights up, and they still had all their little trees up on top of the little porch roof. I mean, it was so charming that it was insane. Um, so let me now transition a hair, and let's just start the conversation on dying, because there's so much more to say. And I'm going to start, and Linda, thank you again for sending this book. This is my favorite book on dying so far, right? I love the Jenny Dean book. This book for me so far is and I'm only part way in, I'm only this far in, but I am loving it, right? This is what I've done so far. But I want to kind of introduce you to the Wednesday episode and where we're going to be going with the next few episodes, because we are talking about dying this month. And I am recording videos on chemical dyes, on natural dyes, on food dyes, on garment dyes, and different kinds of dyeing. So all of that's happening behind the scenes as quickly as I can, trying to keep things level too with feeling okay. And I just want to show you into this slideshow. If we are going to talk about dyeing, we are going to talk about mordants, we're going to talk about how to sadden and gladden and bright up or yellow down or brown down your natural dyes. But I just started the slideshow this way by walking you into some plants, because the conversation, we're going to move toward foraging, what you can find out there that makes sense. And I'm going to read some ideas from this book, which are by Ann Bliss, about foraging. We're going to do that on Wednesday, because there are rules, right? You don't just go and pick and take, things that might be endangered or dangerous. So we're going to talk about those aspects of it on Wednesday. But I just wanted to walk you into it at the end of this episode by saying, for example, these are alder trees, ALDER, alder. So if this is something that you have near you, this is something that you can make natural dye from. Alder tree, right? So this is the close-up of the leaves and these kinds of, they're like cones. I don't know if you would call them berries. I am not a plant person, but this is what a close-up of the tree looks like. alder tree. And then, for example, this, I got this from Town Dyer. It's a WordPress account, so it's a blog, Town Dyer. This is what the alder tree color makes. So this family of browns, and of course we will talk about mordants on Wednesday, if you want to use different things to get different effects, right? Because if you put copper, tin, iron, alum, chrome, different metals in, it will change the tint, gladden it, sadden it, brighten it, right, darken it. There's all kinds of things that can happen as a result of what you add, right, while you're dyeing. So this is a range of colors that can come from the alder tree. And this is a picture from Ria, R-I-A, Burns, B-U-R-N-S, knitwear. And again, yarn that she dyed using the alder tree, using these little cone things. So this is, I'm just showing you examples of color, right? Super, super fun. And for example, aspen trees, right? Most of us know what aspen looks like, right? It looks like what we have in New England is birch, but this is aspen. And coming from the Pamela Jane Instagram page, this is something that she dyed using aspen leaves, right? So she got this beautiful color. You don't always get the color you think you're going to get. You think aspen yellow. Well, in this case, yeah, it is yellow, but it doesn't always work like that. For example, purple aster flower, you're thinking, I'm certainly going to get purple, right? Without a doubt, I'm going to get purple. Look at those beautiful purple leaves. Not at all. The purple aster gives you this color. And this photo is from Sleeping Dog Quilts, right? A website called Sleeping Dog Quilts. So it makes this kind of cloudy, yellowy neutral. Absolutely no hint of purple. Bindweed, right? This plant here is called bindweed, and it's got white trumpet flowers on it, right? And there is a sort of distinction between that she makes in this book that I thought was quite funny, where she says the difference between wildflowers and weeds seems to be, I'm paraphrasing hugely, well, we'll do this on Wednesday, but she said, some people say wildflowers, some people say weeds. It seems to depend on how much that plant is tormenting you. Because if it's tormenting you, we tend to say they're all weeds, like all this crap in the front yard is all weeds, everything taking over the garden, weeds. But if you're appreciating them and loving it and go, look at this wonderful English garden I have, isn't it irregular? It becomes like wildflowers. It was just a funny, funny passage, and I'll read it to you word for word on Wednesday, but I thought it was super funny. Judy says, I'm pretty nervous about handling the mordants and disposing of them. A lot of them you want to use outdoors. Absolutely, right? These are like metals. So these can be super dangerous, but we're going to talk about mordants at length on Wednesday. There is a lot to worry about with natural dyeing. People think dyeing with natural anything, right? That's just a placeholder, because what I mean is, to complete the thought, people think doing natural dyeing is safer, greener, and safer all around than dyeing with chemicals. That's not exactly true, because the point that Judy's making, the mordants that you would use in the plants themselves and the possibility of misidentifying a plant, you could really get yourself in trouble, right? So it is, I feel that in general, if you know what you're doing and if you know what you've got, it is maybe safer. But if there's any question that you don't, or that you don't know how to handle the materials, which are natural materials, but it doesn't mean that they're not dangerous, right? So if you want to do natural dyeing because you think it's less dangerous, that might be the wrong reason. But we'll talk more about that on Wednesday. And I think I had one more. Okay, so this was the bindweed with the white trumpet flowers, and it makes this color of yellow. So, like they're working with the stems here, I think. I'm not sure that they're using the flower in this, but this photo comes from Obovate, Obovate. It's a WordPress blog. So a lot about dyeing, a lot about printing and sun printing with flowers on Obovate WordPress. So this is just sort of a taste of where we're going to be headed Wednesday and further along with conversations on dyeing. So I'm going to be looking certainly more at this book and at the conversations that we're talking about now, which are quite serious, right? It is quite serious. Misidentifying something is dangerous and could be deadly. So I always like my chemical dyes because they're more predictable. And I know if I put in this measure, I'm going to get this color every time. Not that way with natural dyes. And we'll talk about the variables with natural dyes, quantity, different mordants, different additives that you're going to put in, well water versus not, plants that come out of different kinds of soil. These are all things that are going to affect the color that you get. So while these are softer colors and you have that feeling that you've used something from your own dye garden, and there is a lot of sort of good feeling, it makes your heart happy to know that you're planting or foraging and you're gathering and bringing all of these colors to be, bringing them forth in your wool. And by the way, this book is specifically about dyeing wool, yarn and wool yardage. So this is an extra good book for us as dyers, but we're going to hit this together at length, and we're going to do that on Wednesday. So we'll continue this conversation then. It was great to see you. Patreon members, Kirsten, I almost forgot. Thank you so much for your support. I sent out the Patreon for the beginning of the month. I have been sending out a couple of free patterns every month, and I'm going to be offering and piggybacking more free stuff to Patreon members starting later this month. You know I'm having a crazy month here, so I'm just trying to get my feet down, get some traction while waves keep hitting me, right? But I will see you on Wednesday, and if you need me in the meantime, ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I will be there for you. Otherwise, look for some videos that I'm posting between now and Wednesday, different subjects, and I will be back with you to talk about natural dyes on Wednesday coffee time, same time at noon Eastern Standard Time. I will see you then. Oh, Lynn says weeds are only plants growing where you don't want them. That's a great definition of weeds. Exactly. And I'm not enough of a gardener to know the difference, but I know when I see stuff growing, even when it's the naughty stuff, like the mossy stuff and the ivy and stuff clinging to old buildings, I still think, God, doesn't that look so beautiful? And I guess that's the wrong attitude, but yeah, looking forward to Wednesday too. I will see, please thumbs up. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And I will see